everybody. In this video, along with my colleague Marim Badi, are going to tackle two newly adopted approaches to language instruction and teaching: content-based instruction and standards-based instruction. So let's now talk about, or let's now see our outline. My name is Mohammed Nidu Saud. I'm going to talk about content-based instruction, defining it, advantages, limitations, and applications. And then we're going to see how does content-based instruction listening look like. The same for Marin Balish is going to talk about standards-based approach, defining it, advantages, limitations, and applications. And then she's going to talk about how does standards-based instruction listening look like. So let's start with my part. Defining content-based instruction. In fact, this approach is well known, especially in our Brooklyn context. It is very well adopted. Adopted in the ninth grade. Okay, so content-based instruction is an approach that focuses attention on the topics and subject matter and themes in general, right? It is an approach that is that with which learners are learning about things. Okay, they are learning about something. Okay, anything that is of their interest or the defined preferable. Okay, and while learning about these things, they are using the language that they are trying to learn, and in this way, they are developing their linguistic ability in the target language, right? Now let's talk about the advantages of content-based instruction. Interest and motivation are the first factors that we find in the courses adopting content-based instruction. Because as we said, students are always learning about things that they find interesting and motivating, and that they find preferable, and in fact, it is raising motivation. Okay, content-based instruction boasts a much wider knowledge of the world because learners again are learning about different things, different fields and subfields, and their repertoire is supposed to be extended and much widerly enhanced, right? Students build their skills such as note taking, summarizing, and extracting key information from texts because they have a lot of materials and they are then exposed to these skills, right? Furthermore, students are developing their valuable thinking skills because they are having the opportunity to learn different things about different fields and subfields. Okay, now let's talk about few of the potential problems and how to deal with them. Students at first might feel confused. They don't know what they're studying. Is it English or geography or biology or whatever? Because the focus is not clear for content-based instruction from the beginning. So teachers need to include some form of language focus exercises so that students feel that they are learning English or any other language, right? Students use their L1. It is very quickly and at ease that students find the opportunity to use their L1 because of the discussions and debates and collaborative tasks that content-based instruction adopts. So, trying to share the objective and the rationale with the students might handle this problem because you kept them on track this way, and they know that at the end they're going to meet a certain objective which is linguistically based. uh, Students might copy directly from the sources and text that they are having. For the teachers to resolve the problem, they're going to ask students to evaluate the information and analyze it rather than just asking them to bring and to know something, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about a few of the samples of content-based instruction. As we said, this is a few of the, uh, Content-based instruction benefits is that it is building collaborative skills, and this way organizing jigsaw and discussion activities, debates is of importance, right? Using written text, for example, when teaching the past tense, you could use a historical event, and in this way, students are learning about historical events, and at the same time, they are tackling a grammar point, which is past tense, right? Vocabulary is better presented within the context of content, right? For example, students learn about American cuisine or diet to learn words. Okay, so vocabulary is not taught out of context in content-based instruction, and in content-based instruction, meaningful activities are used. Okay. Now let's talk about a demo lesson. I mean, the biotechnology text that we talked about. I mean, what are the skills that is and activities that it is, I mean, carrying. Uh, the text is like there to enhance students' vocabulary and for them to use critical thinking, using grammar, structure, and communication, right? And the lesson has two goals. If you notice that enhancing students' vocabulary does not seem from the very beginning the focus of the text, but it comes at a certain point to be our focus as well. Now, the goals of the text biotechnology are as follows. The first which is communicative goal. It is there to talk about the applications and of biotechnology, its benefits and problems. So students here are learning about, I mean, biotechnology and knowing things about it. Then they're moving slightly to the second goal, which is linguistic, and they're trying to identify the vocabulary related to biotechnology and recognize the different expressions to give an opinion or things that are linguistic based, right? Now, with biotechnology text again, you can elicit the meaning of biotechnology and its application. I mean, how to teach it, and you're going to elicit the way you want, even using uh, uh, pictures, definition, miming, whatever that is appropriate, right? Students read the text and answer comprehension questions, and at the end, you need to adapt an activity that requires students to work in group and discuss, because this way it is fostering cooperative learning, which was one of the main features and benefits of content-based instruction, right? In the end, the contextualization of the English language through content-based activities, in fact, helps to motivate and promote critical thinking, which shows that this approach is a great way to teach a variety of topics using the language with, communicative tools, right? As a communicative tool. Okay.
Hello, my name is Mariam Bali, and in this part of the video, we are going to talk about the standard-based approach, following this outline. First, we are going to see what is a standard, types of standards, what do we mean by the 5 C's, and some of the advantages and criticism of standard-based approach, followed by a sample of activities and an example lesson taken from a textbook. Now, let's start by answering this question. What is a standard? So, generally speaking, a standard is both a goal and the unit of measuring the extent to which one is progressing towards a certain goal. So, to determine whether they are far or near the goal. Within the standards, we can find 3 different standards: content standards, performance standards, and proficiency standards. Content standards specify that what learners should know and be able to do with the language, unlike the traditional methods which simply deal with what students should know about the language. Performance standards describe how students will show that they have achieved the content standards. Is it through speaking, listening, or writing activities, or reading activities? Proficiency standards provide a criteria for evaluating how well a learner has achieved the content standards. They allow the teachers to identify which performance deserves an excellent mark and which doesn't. The standards are generated from the fact that people learn a foreign language for different reasons. Some learn it to communicate with others, some to interact with people from different cultures, some learn it to just pass the exam, and for others it offers them the opportunity to connect with other subject areas. Another group of students are only interested in language learning because they are curious about comparing languages and cultures. While the majority of students want to learn the foreign language so as to integrate a global community or increase their chances to get a job after they finish school. The 5 goal areas that we have just stated are summarized in these 5 keywords, which represent the 5 goal areas of standards-based approach. The first goal are areas of communication, followed by cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. The goal area of communication includes 3 standards that represent the 3 modes of communication, which are interpersonal, interpretive, and presentational communication. The first standard requires the use of the 4 skills: listening and reading to understand the message, and using speaking and writing to provide a response. So the second standard measures the learner's ability to use their interpretive skills to understand and interpret and analyze messages in a variety of activities that necessitate the use of reading and listening skills, such as when they are watching a movie, listening to a song, or reading a book. The third standard here is related to the presentational mode of communication, which encourages learners to improve their ability to use the language productively through using productive skills of informing, explaining, and persuading their audiences. Such activities include writing a story, giving a speech, or a presentation. The second goal area of this approach is called the cultures, and it is based on the idea that a foreign language cannot be taught without its culture, because culture provides the contextual clues for appropriately using the language. Within the standard-based approach, culture is composed of 3 elements: perspectives, practices, and products. Perspectives refer to the abstract component of culture, such as beliefs, attitudes, meanings, or values. The second component is practices, which refer to celebrations, traditions, dressing code as an example. The third element is products. It includes all material objects which are used in a culture, such as books, food, and music. Generally speaking, learners should be able to investigate, explain, and reflect on how cultural perspectives control and determine cultural practices and also cultural products. The third goal of the standard-based approach enables students to make connections between what they study in language classrooms and with what they study in other subjects. For instance, the topics and the themes in the English language classrooms in Morocco The textbooks in the ELT textbooks are already established had already established connections with history, geography, and biology and other subjects. Thus, the English classroom offers learners the opportunity to expand their knowledge on other subjects. The fourth goal area of standard-based approach is that of comparisons. And it enables learners to compare their own language with the foreign language in order to identify similarities and differences in terms of structure and meaning. In addition to comparing language, students should be able to compare and contrast their own culture with the culture of the language being studied. Learners should be able to identify similarities and differences and understand that they should tolerate the differences. The last goal area is that of communities, and it states that learners need to demonstrate that they can use the foreign language not only in the classroom but also in their communities as part of being a world citizen. Now, standard-based approach proponents endorse that the standards require that students demonstrate learning rather than just showing up. The standard-based approach rejects the idea that only a few can succeed. All students are capable of continuous improvement. Students should be measured against a fixed yardstick, a finish line, rather than against other students. Now, however, the opponents of this approach fear that the focus on achievement by all students will result in dumbing down the definition of academic competence to a level that is achievable by even the weakest students, while others object that the standards are too high and thus inappropriate or too challenging for all but the brightest students, to the extent that even good students would perform significantly below the stated standard and be held back or required to take additional instruction. Teachers are advised to vary their task types to keep learners motivated and on task. Through these tasks, the teachers should help the students develop a set of skills such as problem solving and critical thinking. Now, for listening, you can use conversations to create the need to speak. You can use these activities for speaking, role plays, information gap activities, presentations, or reports. For reading, you can have students debate an issue related to the text you provided. For writing, you can have them write a formal or informal letters, reports on projects, film or book review, or write an email. Here we have an example of writing an email lesson taken from the Moroccan English textbook, Ticket to English for Second Baccalaureate, Unit 8. Here the students are required to write an email to the Secretary General of the United Nations to support a certain cause, which is eradicating illiteracy and poverty in the world. So the standard would be students will be able to use their ideas and suggestions to talk about eradicating illiteracy and poverty in a formal email. So through the activities provided in this lesson, students will not only have to generate ideas and use their problem skills to think of ideas to get rid of illiteracy and poverty, but also they need to write a formal email. Therefore, they should know how to compose one and the standards of writing a formal email. Now, the general goal of the standards-based approach is to ensure that students are acquiring the knowledge, attitudes, and the skills for better English learning, and the ones that are deemed to be essential to success in both school and the outside world. Thank you for listening.